Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to each and every one of you logged in online at the moment. For those of you who don't know me, I am Cyril Uruwei. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for stopping by this evening, for tuning in tonight. We have a tonight should be very intense. I'm waiting for attorney Arthur Saldivar to join me, and then we have a lot to talk about. Right? There's a lot about this Budna case that so many people are ignoring, and the more I think about it, the more I start to have more compassion on people, especially those who insist on not calling a spade a spade, right? Those who have become more compassionate for those people who really doesn't care what this government is doing, what our government is doing. I become compassionate even more so toward those who knows what this government, that what our leaders are doing, but for some reason, it no matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Why do we do this to each other? Why do we promote this spirit of complacency? Why? Why do we keep practicing, magnifying this spirit of complacency? I want to talk to each and every one of you. Before I do so, though, let me play this video just as a refresher, just so when I start to share certain things, everything will already be put into context, right? Folks, friends, family, there's a whole lot going on. There's a whole lot happening in our country. And pay attention to these men. Pay attention to the leader of the opposition. Let me play this one with leader of the opposition first. Listen to what she says, right? Listen to what she is saying.
The abduction of Mr. Joseph Budna, who was beaten and handed over to hostile territory, reportedly by officers of the state strikes at the very heart of our democracy and our sovereignty. To clarify, this is not a defense of Mr. Budna's past. His criminal history is well documented. To remove any doubt, Joseph Budna was convicted in Guatemala for kidnapping and extortion and sentenced to 25 years in prison. He has faced multiple charges in Belize, including abetment to commit murder. Joseph Budna unquestionably is a controversial figure. But this is the thing. He is a Belizean citizen entitled to due process and constitutional protections. The video recorded abduction of Mr. Budna is nothing short of alarming. This incident represents one of the gravest threats to the fundamental rights and freedoms of every Belizean citizen. It has been 2 weeks, and the Prime Minister of this country, the head of state, had to demand a report from the Minister of Police and the Police High Command. I gave him some grace as the Prime Minister, and I called him to find out how the government had intended to deal with these allegations. According to the Prime Minister, the matter of the abduction of a Belizean citizen was not discussed in cabinet. The abduction of Mr. Joseph.
So, friends and family, good night to each and every one of you again. Good night, pleasant, good evening, wherever you may be. Good morning if you're on the other side of the world, maybe in Taiwan. You're tuned in because you have interest in what's happening in your country. You have interest in what's happening in your community. You're tuned in because you probably just want to hear what Cyril Uruwei might rant about tonight. For whatever reason you tune in or you are tuning in tonight, I want to ask each and every one of you, make we be real with each other for one moment at least. This is Dangriga Unmuted, unmuting the truth, demanding change. Unmuting the truth, demanding change. Let's be real with each other for a moment. There is no doubt that Budna is a criminal. There is no doubt, based on what he was charged for, that he's a pedophile. No doubt, based on what he was charged for in the past, based on his criminal history. I have no intention whatsoever to defend the brother. I have no intention to go back on his crimes. I saw a video on Plus TV not too long ago. And that video that they shared, the only thing about that, it's about Joseph Budna. The only thing, the only story in that video is his criminal behavior, how terrible of a person he is. And of course, this video is from a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I believe in 2023. Don't quote me. But why I am sharing this is because we have propaganda happening right in front of our faces and we don't even see it. I have no interest in defending Joseph Budna. Make we be honest with each other for a moment. Make we have a heart-to-heart conversation. Belizeans, Dangriga, Garinago, from one brother to another, from one brother to a sister. We don't have to rehash the whole Budna situation. I'm assuming that everybody who's on right now have been keeping up with the news, have been keeping up with what Facebook is saying. So I will assume that we are all on the same page. I will share some details here and there, but I will spare you guys a lot of details. All the evidence right now, all the evidence is pointing fingers at the state. All the evidence. There is no ordinary civilian. There is no ordinary one single police or even rogue policeman, maybe rogue policeman, could pass all the checkpoints, cross the border with a man that they're abducting, taking against his will. And if we listen to, okay, I have attorney. One moment, folks. My brother, greetings. Good night to you. I can hear you clear enough. I'm not seeing you though. Okay. Can you rotate your camera horizontally? Is it okay? Don't worry about it. I'll fix it. I got it. I'll fix it from my end. Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. Excellent. All right. Let me just bring you online and then we'll get this ball rolling. So I'm going to pause on what I was saying and I'm going to bring on attorney Arthur Saldivar, who is going to expound, give a lot more details on this Budna case. Let me All right, I'm ready. So good evening again, folks. Greetings to each and every one of you. Good night, everyone. This is yours truly, Cyril Uruwei. This is Dangriga Unmuted, unmuting the truth, demanding change. Tonight, I have with me a warrior, a fighter. I have known this man. I've seen this man. I've been following him for quite some time now, and he's one of the grassroots attorneys here in Belize that pull back no punches. And I don't believe in flattery, but that's just what the man is. My brother, attorney Arthur Saldivar, greetings. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for giving the people of Dangriga and all that tuned in to Dangriga Unmuted the opportunity to hear truth and to get some clarity as to what's happening here in Belize, specifically concerning this Budna case. Just briefly, introduce yourself to the people and please state your title or your position in this organization of attorneys that's fighting for justice.
Yes, I am Arthur Saldivar. I'm an attorney at law here in Belize, practicing since 2007. I am a member of the Association of Defense Attorneys, and I hold the position of Officer of Public Policy in that organization. Insofar as my interest in the present matter, a team of us from the Association of Defense Attorneys are representing Mr. Ryan Joseph Budna in his pursuit of redress for the constitutional violations that have been brought upon him by the government of Belize.
My first question to you, my brother, before we get into the Constitution, before we get into right versus wrong, why do you think we have a handful of people, be it the grassroots, the middle class, even those at the top, who believes or who behave as if though it is best that we don't focus on constitution, we don't focus on national security, just let's focus on the fact that this is a pedophile, this is a criminal, and he belongs where he's at?
Well, it's sad that in the present climate, we find ourselves in a position where the population at large is not attuned to the importance of the Constitution and what it holds. Many have not read it, many don't understand it, and as a result, it's very easy to be distracted by the personalities and lose sight of the principles. We live daily under the protection of those principles. Those principles are the fine threads that hold the fabric of our society together. We may take them for granted many times, and as I've indicated prior, because of the fact that we're not taught it, many don't know it, so it's easy to take them for granted. Those principles like the rule of law, the separation of powers, those are what underpins the constitutional provisions, because the rule of law, what that simply states, or what it simply means, is that where there is a law, it is to be enforced, it is to be followed, not only by subjects of a state, but by the state apparatus itself. So where the state takes it time, for example, for someone to be forcibly taken somewhere against their will, and that crime of abduction or kidnapping, no person in the society is legally allowed to do so. But even more so, the state itself is not legally allowed to do so. That is a breach of the rule of law.
Now, so with the ones, for those of us, back to I want to zoom into my question a bit, right? For those of us out here who will say, again, just this one. I mean, this guy, he deserved what he got, right? For those who will say it's one less pedophile on the street, why was he still, if he was wanted in Guatemala, why was he roaming free in Belize? Is that something that our government failed on? Is it because he was just free as a Belizean that?
No, our government did not fail. The Guatemalan authorities failed to hold a prisoner who they had tried and convicted in their jurisdiction and in their facility for incarceration. He escaped. Once he escaped and arrived on Belizean soil, he then comes under the jurisdiction of Belize and the protection of our Constitution. He did not commit the crime for which he was convicted in Belize. So the Belizean authorities, independent of anything, did not have any right to arrest him based on his escape. He did not escape our jurisdiction. He escaped Guatemala's jurisdiction. Guatemala is a country that has a claim on us, and we have no extradition treaty with Guatemala. To the point of him being a pedophile, a convicted criminal, let me address it succinctly. Should Ryan Budna have been free and walking in Belize? The easy answer is no. He should not have been free and walking around in Belize. But the reason for him to have been so free and walking around was because the Guatemalan government did nothing to effect a prisoner transfer. A request had to have been made to the government of Belize through the proper channels for Budna to have been returned to Guatemala to continue to serve time there. There have been instances where cooperation have existed between the two countries, even in the absence of any extradition treaty, where prisoners and wanted persons have been exchanged back and forth across the border legally. There have been no fervor, no public rancor over those things because they were handled properly. Handovers taking place at the border point, where immigration, customs, and all who are at those border stations were able to observe the handing over. So to say now that because Budna is a convicted person and a reputed pedophile, that it was okay for him to have been done an illegal act and be subjected to illegalities is to say that any of us who it would be very difficult to legally put in that position could be subject to the same. The reason I say this is he was convicted. It was very easy for them to transfer him legally, but they took the step of circumventing the law to do so when it was totally unnecessary. So if now they find someone who they do not like or have an issue with that is not of the ilk of Joseph Budna, no conviction, not wanted anywhere, it would then be very easy for them to do exactly what they did with Budna, who they didn't have to do that with, to someone who has no previous run-ins with the law, but who may be a thorn in their side. That is not the kind of country we want to live in. That is not the kind of country I was born into. And it's not the kind of country I'm going to leave my children to inherit when I leave.
Absolutely. Let's talk about, I want to talk about the demands, the request. And when I say demand/request, I almost want to just not use the word request, because at this point we should be demanding. The Prime Minister had promised that he would have a report on his desk. What do you take from this? One, we haven't seen the report, or at least the media give certain information, but we haven't quite seen a report. The public haven't seen a report. Two, the commissioner is relieved of his duties for 45 days. Is that leave with pay, without pay? Finally, back to where I started, what should we really be demanding?
The first demand must be for the release of the video footage. That has to be the first demand. The reason for that is on August 22nd, Friday, August 22nd, 2025, within the plain view of a nearby police station, a citizen of Belize was severely beaten, hog-tied and duct-taped, then transported in a vehicle from that location to a location 3 hours or so away. The fact that it happened so brazenly, in open view of the station and its occupants, so much so that a uniformed officer came out to not investigate, but let's say to inquire. Makes it an imperative. The Belize given full opportunity exactly who were the persons responsible for that tape, that recording depicts 3 individuals administering. To cherry-pick one is a breach of you're basically criticizing a discriminatory practice. Just because he is the one most known, you are making it now that he is the one to suffer the only one to suffer the consequence of going home under interdiction and half pay until the matter is completely investigated. No. They know who the others are, and if they don't know, let the public see the recording, and the public can inform you who those other persons are in that recording, if they are not wearing masks. Now, Mr. Budna had said that his attackers and kidnappers were wearing masks. We can forgive him for not being accurate about that, because we have seen clearly where he was hit over the head multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
This may have disoriented him. This may have caused him to have a lapse in memory, to recall exactly what may have transpired taken place. But he was able to recall sufficient information to give the public, to have the public be made aware of what circumstances existed when he was taken away. So much so that when the recording was played for the public to see, his account was clearly the more credible account.
Yeah.
The commissioner of police, who would have seen what happened on the 22nd before he came before the public on the 25th, gave a total misrepresentation of what was shown on those recording. He blatantly lied to the public. 45 days is not sufficient. The other demand must be that his removal be made final, because what he did is unforgivable. And what he did, if he is remained to stay, will be a constant reminder to the public that the police is not a credible institution, and not one to be respected, but one to be feared. The public should not be afraid of law enforcement. The public should see law enforcement as a partner in this social experiment of Belize, where we look to them to assist in maintaining law and order, to ensure that good citizens can maintain their livelihoods and be as productive as possible within the context of a free society. If we fear the police, that is impossible. If we don't believe the police, that is impossible. It will mean then that the citizenry will see themselves as us against them, And in such an atmosphere, criminality will run rampant.
Yeah. Now, with one of the officers being, let's say, singled out, now we have the commissioner taking a leave. Um, According to leader of the opposition, Tracy Tega Panton, she said she's she didn't say clear enough, but she's speculating without pay. I'm sorry, with pay. What do you think of that? And why you say, I think what I want to get to the bottom of is this. It seems that they have been buying time all this while from the 21st, 22nd of August up until this point. We can't get what detailed report. We can't get what detailed report. We can't get the video footage, the surveillance footage. It is nobody is taking responsibility at this point. From an attorney's standpoint, I mean, how far do you think this will go?
It will go as far as the people of Belize allow it to go. We live under this belief that we only have power every 5 years. The people of Belize have power whenever they decide to exercise it. We will be either subjected to the government we have, or we will strive for the government we want. And when I say that, I don't say that within any I say that outside the context of the party politics, because party politics has not served us well in Belize, at least not recently. I do not find any distinction between a UDP administration and a PUP administration where this is concerned. Farid Ahmad was kidnapped and murdered under the last administration. Vivian Ramnareis, John Ramnareis, and David Ramnareis were murdered by an officer of the state, allegedly. So we have seen where police officers have been implicated in the most serious crimes in our country under both political leadership. And every time there have been attempts to sweep it under the rug. The only
Mr.
time we got
Saldivar,
justice.
in a situation like
Right.
this, where you're giving examples, the brother, my brother just popped up as well, whether that in prison in Guatemala. In a situation like this, where, and on a side note, you also fight for redistricting, correct?
Yes, I have.
Now, we've been talking about redistricting for so many years. It's a violation of the Constitution. And now in a situation, in a Budna situation, I don't even want to call it a Budna situation, but a situation where the state is either incompetent to secure its citizens, or they're engaging in a state-sponsored abduction. In a situation like this, when we keep going in circles and stalling, Kari Musa talk about release the footage, have an independent investigation. Like everybody that just they move lips and say things that they believe might sound good to the general public and make it seem like they're guilty, or make it seem like they are interested in fixing the problem. in a situation like this, what do we do? Where is that place of seriousness where we get the Prime Minister to listen, where we get Karim Musa to listen? When do we get to that place? Where is that place? What does that look like? And even from a legal standpoint, because it seems with all the laws in place, with all the procedures, with all the due process, and with all the evidence out there pointing at an incompetent government or a government that is abusive, tyrannical, when do we get to that place of that's it? What card do we pull? We don't go to the Governor General because, anyway, what's
Well,
our move?
this is where your civil society stakeholders need to take a leadership role. We are a system based on checks and balances, but we have not been checking anybody, and there's been no balance for quite a while. The only time checks have come into play has been when the unions have been sufficiently motivated to act. And many times we are seeing the unions act largely in the context of their membership, which is why they are formed. But one would want to see them now take up a wider role in looking at what's taking place in relation to the constitutional violations that exist, and appreciate that those constitutional violations that exist and that are being carried out presently have to do with the way they are being treated around the bargaining table when it comes to their collective bargaining agreements and what have you. Because the same people who are negotiating with them these agreements are the same ones who are willingly and wantonly breaching the Constitution. So it's only a matter of time before those agreements are breached. So in an effort to ensure that we have the balance needed to ensure stability and consistency for a period that is not just a fleeting one, the unions may have to step in and other civil stakeholders may have to step in to mobilize the population, to agitate for the actions that need to happen and have them happen. We still have in our Constitution freedom of assembly and freedom of movement and these things. But we are watching, observing, and not acting appropriately when legislation is being introduced that serve to limit those rights that we have. And I speak particularly to the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment is a very dangerous piece of legislation. But the Belizean populace, again, through no fault of our own, because our Constitution is not taught in our schools, and it is not popularized in a way that many would pick it up to read it and understand it voluntarily. So those who have the knowledge and the authority are using the ignorance of the population against them, which is not what leaders should do, but this is what is being done and has been.
Mm-hmm.
So what is happening with the 13th Amendment is that you're empowering the police to do to anybody what was done to Budna without any have that happen recourse to the court for an extended period of time, 30 days up to 365 days, if they feel it that it's required for that individual or those persons. Let me just break down quickly some of the elements in that legislation that could be brought to bear. Under the legislation, it has provisions for special areas to be declared.
We're talking about the 13th Amendment.
The 13th Amendment. I'll tie it back down to Budna shortly, but one should not be divorced from the other.
Okay.
because Budna exists as an outlier presently without the 13th Amendment even existing. Okay? Budna was taken against his will, transported across the country, and dumped into Guatemala. The 13th Amendment will give the police legal cover to do that. Maybe not dumping somebody over the border, but taking them against their will, incarcerating them, and locking them away from the court's intervention for an extended period. We cannot afford to put that kind of power in the hands of this police force.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is no guarantee that such power would not be abused, because we are seeing from the top, when the commissioner can come to the public and lie, that from the top to the bottom, there exists sufficient bad actors that no one in the society would be able to feel safe when you are being given now the legal parameters within which you can do this without suffering any repercussions. The special areas are not just outside Belize City, as they want you to believe, and they are pushing that this is about the gang members and fighting crime. And with this tool, as they call it, they would be able to better address the problem of violence in the Belize City streets. You don't put a constitutional provision that governs the country for a problem that is encapsulated in a small space. That makes absolutely no sense. It's ridiculous. The Governor General, on the advice of the National Security Council, could declare a special area in any part of the country. It could be Wagirele area, Bengoshe area, Bakatong area. It could be somewhere up in Progreso, Sarteneja, wherever. It could be any part of the country where they find a particular problem existing that has existed for such a long time that they need to put special measures to address it. For example, a prolonged union protest, a prolonged demonstration, a prolonged civil unrest action organized by stakeholders to bring attention to some other problem that exists that they would not address without having the public be mobilized to come out publicly to vent their frustration and show their outrage. This is what would happen. Then what would happen in a situation like that? Your leaders would be targeted. Your leaders of your unions, okay? Your leaders of your civil associations who are coming out there to agitate for better governance. They will be the ones targeted for the kind of action under the 13th Amendment. It would be legalized. Legalized brutality, legalized circumvention of due process. We can't have that because we are seeing without it the abuse that is taking place, as in the case with Budna.
So I ask, again, put a different spin on it. We say all the abuse, right? The abuse of power. And I'm glad that you kind of reference the 13th Amendment. And you're also right. It's hard to separate the two. It's hard to separate Budna from, what we are going into. So you and your colleagues, you're stepping up to demand justice. What's your chip? I don't know.
Give me 1 minute.
Sure. While we're at this, what I'm trying to understand, right, is with all the loopholes with this current administration, with all the evidence we don't come out, why we can't. And Attorney Saldivar, are you ready, my brother?
I'm with you.
Okay, good. Like, why where is that magic wand, not magic wand, I shouldn't say that, scrap that. Where is that card? Where is that switch? Where is that moment where we could say, in the law, in the constitution, whereby, fine, we not carry them a court, we not find them guilty a court, but the way how things they go, I mean, listen, if you smell fish, it's highly likely that that fish. And this is the way how this thing look. So when do we get to that point whereby we just say, look, listen, now the Prime Minister, they talk about Rosado get some days off. There's no level of urgency, no seriousness. We still not get the video footage. Put somebody in charge for take over for the commissioner who is part of his constituency. Not that we're saying that that person is not going to be fair. But they are in complete control. When do we as a people, when do people like yourself, Dickie Bradley, the leader of the opposition, all of us fighting for justice, where is that magic chip? Where is that chip where we say, we got you, and we're going to do something about it? Because the way how this thing right now, my brother, quite frankly, it just seemed like somebody will take the file, things going quiet, and then business as usual.
Cyril, listen to me. We recently, the People's Constitutional Committee, which in the country, think this is to determine what amendments would the Constitution to make better, to make it better for the families. I think they have just wrapped up their recommendations and what have you. But one of the recommendations that I urged and would have urged from the beginning, I don't believe has been given any kind of consideration. The first amendment that should be made to our Constitution is to have it be mandatory that political parties be registered. Now, you may listen and you may hear this and say, well, how does it have anything to do with this? Each political party has its own constitution. And that constitution governs the party. We have the Constitution of Belize. But when the leader of your country comes from an organization that has its own constitution, and his obedience to that constitution determines his capacity to stay in his position as your national leader, his allegiance is not to you and the country, it is to his party and the party's constitution. Because the Belizean constitution is not supreme in an atmosphere where political parties are not registered. It is the political party constitution that is supreme. Hence the reason we have not been able to hold politicians accountable in Belize.
Supreme to who? I don't mean to interrupt you, but supreme to who?
Supreme law.
Mm-hmm.
When have you seen a sitting politician? When a sitting politician anything to suffer consequences?
Never, at least not to my knowledge.
We had the last administration, the matter of passports.
Mm-hmm.
It was clear.
Yeah.
He was handled internally when it was a public wrong, an offense against the state. The reason for that is, one, the parties are not registered, so they don't come under the jurisdiction of the Constitution. They operate outside of it. So none of the laws that applies to you and me applies to leaders of the political parties. And as long as that exists, you will always have this 5-year tyranny that we have every election season.
But how could that be so? Pardon me, I might be slow about, I don't get it. How could that be so? How could the supreme law, the Constitution of Belize, doesn't apply to these politicians as they apply to us? I don't get that.
Because the code of conduct in the Constitution, which is section 121, does not speak to them facing any of the penalties that you would face for committing a crime.
So in other words, they can't go to jail.
I'm not saying that they can't. I'm saying it is going to be quite difficult, especially where collective security is the policy.
What is your projection for the outcome of this theatrics?
Well, I will tell you that a clear-cut violation of his right able to redress in the course of seeking. But outside of this singular issue of Budna, the Belizean public has been wronged. It's going to be for those in the public who are sufficiently knowledgeable on the area and sufficiently motivated to galvanize public interest and sentiment to getting what needs to be done. I don't believe that this is going to be something that can be swept under the rug or that will blow over like a little breeze. It will not. I think that from my experience, observation of what has happened, the Ramirez brothers and Belize, all that has taken place with police being from these criminal acts, especially landings down south, landings up north, with police being the public is sufficiently motivated to see change be done. They will not settle for just having one or two persons be thrown under the bus while this matter goes unresolved. And I will tell you this, because you mentioned it a little while ago. When the Minister of the Police says release the footage, it cannot be for the Prime Minister to say the footage won't be released, because now he is overstepping, he is overreaching into a realm that would make him now seem to be a part of the cover-up when he does that. Because that's the only reason why you would not have this footage be released, if there's a wider cover-up at play.
Right.
So it is basically painting himself with the same brush that Rosado did. Rosado have to be appeased. There has to be utmost transparency. Otherwise, this issue will never die.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It is interesting that you said that, because you're right. As simple as it sounds, right? There has to be something where you don't want to reveal. There has to be something else that they're not telling us. Why they don't want to release the footage? If Jules don't release the pixelated version, the low, very, very low res version, and again, when it comes to that, are we going to be getting the same thing but just higher quality? Make we park that on the side. Knowing, my brother, all that's happening, and again, I go back to the evidence, with all the evidence that we have. What I'm hearing from you, right, especially when you talk about the constitution that governs all of us, and then you talk about the different constitution of the People's United Party and the United Democratic Party, what I am hearing from you, that even with all of you, with you and your other attorney colleagues, which I have maximum respect for, Attorney Dickie Bradley, yourself, what's his name, Glenn Godfrey, with all the bright minds, with all these fearless attorneys and warriors. Why we can't bring these people to their heels? And when I said to their heels, to make the what, give up the footage, get rid of who need to be who need to get rid of. If Kari Musa need for resign, he need for resign. If the PM need for resign, but it don't seem like we are get anywhere near that. The the best I'd predict right now is that one, the commissioner will get replaced or get transferred. I'm speculating because of how they behave that these officers, rogue officers that they might refer to them as, maybe will take the file. So I still go back to the when do we get serious and say no, enough is enough. This is wrong when it's glaring in front of our faces that
No,
it is wrong.
Cyril, I will tell you this. I don't share sentiment. I will explain to you why. I cannot say right now from where I sit that Karim should go home or the Prime Minister should go home. And I will not say that all we would be getting with the release of the video is a better quality. If we reach the point where the video is shown in its most clear way, in the highest resolution possible, where we can actually identify the parties involved, it puts us a step closer to holding others accountable. Because when we can identify them, right, to expand the scope of what we are looking at, we already have one person has been identified. Others who are identified will know from their associations, maybe that may link us to somebody else and take us up the chain. And it will also give us an opportunity to have a person speak. We cannot do anything without evidence. Evidence is what moves an investigation, what moves a prosecution. We cannot go by what we think or what we feel. We have to go by what we know. And the only way we can know anything is by eliciting the information necessary to give us and ground us in the knowledge that what we are seeking is the right thing. I am not going to jump up. I'm not going to jump up and say, lynch this one, lynch that one. That one is the one responsible. That one is the one. No. So far, what we have is a crime was committed against Budna. A police officer was identified as being one of those who beat him and took him out. And the police commissioner lied. He lied. Now, if the Prime Minister at some point tells to us that makes him culpable as a person with action that has taken place, then yes, I'll be the first to say he needs to go, and I will push for that to happen. If Karim does the same, I will say the same. Or if someone of the perpetrators of this action come forward and say, this is the person who gave instruction, this is a person who
Can
checkpoint, and yes, it's the report premise arena interview is interviewed. It is known that the corporal who came out and saw what was going on went back to the station and reported to his OC. The head of the Northern Regional Command was not interviewed. Okay. So there are many in the high command of the police that were not interviewed who had direct communication with persons
So
who
you
are
see,
part.
so this is a problem again, right? You see, with all these checks and balances, this one was not interviewed. We needed to hear from this one. Seriously, what crime like this, abduction, not only abduction, but taking this man from his country, not only to another country, but a country that's claiming us as their territory. I mean, and we are here from August 22nd. Today is September 8th, the 8th
Yeah.
of September. And we will depend on the police force to do this investigation. Like, I am not hearing anything. This is our joke. This is a joke. From August 22nd up until this point, the Prime Minister can't get a detailed report. Nobody can get fired. He made a promise to the Belizean public that he will deliver a report by this time. Names were called. Budna is saying that here, they say the commissioner, they compelled the call. Budna said that they hear they mention one Karim. And this sad. Nothing can't be done. Like, we don't have no checkmate. Everything always have to, I get it. Everything always have to go by the books. Due process. Wait for this and wait for that. Due process have been keeping us in stagnation and in corruption for decades.
No man, no man. I won't agree with that, Cyril.
Well, that is it. It's why, I mean, we could pull up facts.
If we want due process, we have to also respect due process. Now, the thing about it is this: I agree it has taken a long time, but no matter how long it takes, as long as the people are vigilant, we will get the results we need. We have to be vigilant. We cannot be lulled to sleep. We are not in control of the apparatus. We are subjected to the apparatus. So, understanding your position in the dynamics of things will allow for you to temper expectations to the point where you agitate for the things you want with a realistic view of how you're going to get there. It's not going to happen overnight. We are in an entrenched culture where it is accepted that things are done in a certain way. The culture does not change overnight. Okay? What we are fighting is not so much what is going on, it's our cultural disposition to lay and wait. But some of us will always see, because some of us are gifted with greater insight than others, will always see what's transpiring and taking place, and will put ourselves out there to educate the others, to have them understand this is something we just stand up against. This is something we just stand up for. Because ultimately, if it happens to one person, it can happen to another, and we never know who's next. This is what's going to motivate people to want the change that we need. Don't take the cynical view.
Yeah,
Say, well,
I don't agree with that, brother Arthur, that this where I can't use your exact word, but motivate people. I don't agree with that, and I'll tell you why. We as a people are complacent, it seems, evidently so. And you see complacency in every department of life, especially particularly here in Belize. You see complacency in politics among our leaders. You see complacency, I'm sure you've seen it in the attorneys' clique, so to speak. We are complacent. And for us to depend on these leaders, for us to arrive at this point, that we are still depending on police officers to conduct this investigation, knowing that they have to be compromised, including the commissioner of police. But we do nothing about it. Let's just wait for the process, wait for the report, let them do their thing. Like, it's a joke.
Yes, I agree with what you're saying to a certain extent, but here's the thing, Cyril. In the absence of any other institution to carry out an investigation, who else can legally do it? Again, legally do it. We are talking about a situation for which no provision exists in our law. We've had this situation or this topic come up time and time again in different instances: passport issues, independent investigation, um, issues involving corruption at Lands Department, independent investigation. But the investigative capacity of the government rests with the police department and the police department alone. I have said, and what I
Repeat that last part.
was that
As to
the investigative capacity as it
mhm,
relates to criminal offenses
mhm.
rests with the police department and the police department alone. The DPP's office deals with the prosecution of criminal offenses. Now, what I am suggesting and what I believe could happen in some amendment to the law is to put under the DPP a department of investigators that are answerable to that office alone. That's a constitutional office. Okay, it's not a political office, not a point. That's a constitutional office. It's a constitutional officer that occupies it. Put a team of investigators under that office that answers to the DP, so that where you have incidences of the police being implicated in criminal acts, that office through that department could investigate it. That would be an independent investigator, so to speak.
Has it been determined? Has it been determined that there will be um, no independent investigation?
What does that look like, Cyril? I mean, let's be realistic. What does that look like, and what would it result in?
Well, I mean,
You have to have
without in humbleness and due respect, I mean, you would know more than I do. What I should ask you, what
and
does that look like? An
this is
independent
the reason I'm telling
investigation?
you. An investigation would be one. All right, what we've had in the past is the Senate Select Committee investigating certain things, right? But they have no power to prosecute, no power of arrest. All right. So they'll ask questions, yes. They will have a spectacle for the public with people coming in and answering questions on camera. But what is that going to solve really? What
So
we
in
want
other words,
what we
so
want what we want is
mhm.
something where an investigation takes place and a prosecution results if wrongdoing is found. And with that prosecution, those who are to answer are made to answer for the offense that they've committed. In our laws right now, as I said, we don't have anything like that.
And
Put
what?
the
Okay,
whole
so the likelihood of that happening is
is slim to none.
very zero
But that
to
doesn't
zero.
mean does not mean that those who perpetrate an act like this would get away with it. Because there are other ways.
What I am hearing from you, brother Arthur, is that I don't have much hope, honestly. I do not have much, hardly any hope. Um, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. All I see is deception, betrayal, corruption, That's all I see.
You live in Dangriga, Cyril, right?
I do.
What is the population of Dangriga?
Maybe 10,000 or so. If I'm talking about voters, it's about 6,000 and change.
All right, fine.
6,300.
How many men sit in parliament? Or how many persons sit in parliament?
None. Now from Dangriga,
No. How many people sit in our parliament?
31.
31. Do you believe that 31 can withstand the constant, unending pressure of 6,000 without folding?
Maybe not.
So there is hope.
I can't say that.
So there is hope.
Because
But as
the
I said,
6,000 that's if the 6,000 would dare to add pressure.
well, I'll tell you what. You think any one of those 6,000 would want to be treated the way Budna has been treated?
My brother,
Just
that's
simply answer the
in
question. Would
this
anyone
case,
have
that's neither here nor there. I mean, I see where you're going, but you know, here's the
but
thing.
that's where the hope lies.
Here's
The hope lies in making people feel the urgency and the pressure of a person who has felt it before. You understand it. I understand it. For those who don't, they need to be explained. And
you see,
I do believe I've seen many of Dangriga residents at the magistrates court, at the Supreme Court, at the station. They know, they feel it. They're not living in ivory towers,
my brother,
but it has to be made to. They have to be made to understand that
the
today was not
reality,
tomorrow to be.
the reality of our people, and I'll say our people. What you're saying, it's not that it's anything close to a utopian world, but when we talk about hope, you're talking about the majority of people that when current goes off, when electricity goes off, they look outside to see if they affect their neighbor. A lot of people, the first thing they think that if they can cut off the electricity, they don't think that current gone off, you know. See, you could gesture on that because that probably not happened to you. But I'm sharing this with you so we consider something. The majority of the people, when that happens, for people like yourself or maybe 𝐿𝐵 Senior, 𝐶𝐿, all of them, a generator kick in and the AC come back on. But for people, the grassroots, they wonder if BEL come and chop them and then suffer without fun and all that. What is my point? People are so consumed with their worries, with what they don't have, with their poverty and all that, they don't have time to keep in touch with things like this right now. We have quite a few people online who can afford to just listen to all this. But the majority, they're not a budge. So where are we going to get 6,000 people from Dangriga to keep adding pressure?
I use it as an example, but what I'm saying, for those of us who understand the issue and the importance of the issue, if we are motivated enough to get ourselves out there, to speak on it, and educate people about it, there is hope that others would also become enlightened on the issue and recognize its importance and why it is that actions like this has to change. And the only way that it will change is to have the consequences of those actions be visited upon those persons who committed it. People have to agitate for better. Listen
I
to me.
agree with you.
No change has been made by the masses. It has never occurred in human history that one day 10,000 persons rose up at once and said, we're going to change this thing. It always started with one.
I'll tell you where
It
they,
always started with one, Cyril, one.
I'll tell you
One
where
can move
they,
mountains if you have the will.
I'll tell you where the hopelessness is for me. I'm not hopeless in the sense that this whole thing is done. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I honestly wouldn't. I mean, I probably did
And
our
hence the
farm.
reason it's when you say these things to me, it makes me wonder because
No,
I
no,
told
listen
you
though,
at
but
my
that's why I
time.
need for that's why I need to
All right.
clarify myself, right? I'm not talking about overall, but where this crime is concerned, this alleged smelling like a state-sponsored crime is concerned. I hardly see any hope for accountability. That's what I'm talking about. Categorically, that is what I'm talking about. I hardly see any hope because listening to you right now, as wise and intelligent and strong as you are, the fighter that you are, I am not impressed in what has been put on the table by all stakeholders as to how we are pressuring this government. I am not impressed in how they have been responding. You look at them on TV and you know that they're using canned responses. It's like it's trite. It's like you already know what to expect. It's best you don't even listen to the news because it's no news. So
But
that's what I don't have much
to
or
be
any hope in.
to be fair to our people, to be fair, you know this thing, as you rightly put, started on August 22nd. All right. Given our history and the way things normally operate in Belize, after 3 or 4 news cycles, so we're on to something else, you know. But that has not been the case here. That has not been the case here. This thing maintaining momentum because of how brazen it was that they did. It is not losing momentum because people are sufficiently in tune to the fact that this was a very egregious act perpetrated by state actors. So I don't see it dying down. I see that at some point, those who are in authority will have to come and hold a press conference on this issue where questions will be asked and answers will have to be given. And at that point, then we will be in a better position to assess how serious they are about addressing it and how culpable certain individuals may or may not be. But until then, the pressure is on. Mr. Budna's matter is going to come to court. That will introduce a new set of pressures. Because when that matter is filed and witnesses are called, Cyril, that is where due process allows for the ventilation of issues and allows for persons to do what they can to vindicate themselves. And you know what happens when people try to vindicate themselves, Cyril? Most often than not, if they are not the ones ultimately responsible, they implicate others.
That's true. What's the
So
least?
let process take its course, Cyril. We
What's the
can't jump the gun or we can't get ahead of ourselves.
what's the least um accountability do you expect?
There's a goal in addressing the rights that have been violated in terms of Mr. Budna's rights. That goal and objective is to have it be redressed, to have the High Court pronounce on it, to make a determination if the wrong was actually done or not. Once those declarations are made, Cyril, then there's going to be repercussions because damages would have to be awarded to Mr. Budna. Then that's only the local scene. There's also the international court. Listen, because you know the Guatemalans put out a whole release that Mr. Budna was wandering in the wilderness and they just happened to come upon him and took him in and then found out that he was a person with some kind of criminal history in Guatemala.
Of interest.
Right. When it goes to the international uh, Course on Human Rights, they will have to say exactly what happened. That narrative will not fly because now Guatemala will not want to pay the damages that would be coming its way for a person of Mr. Budna's, level. He's not that high of a level criminal
What
that they
I,
would stake
brother,
the entire. But
let me, um, so I ask, what's your least expectation, right? You don't have to answer this directly right now. I ask, what is your least expectation in terms of accountability? Now, I appreciate that you share these different angles with me when it comes to Budna's rights, when it comes to taking it internationally, dealing with the Guatemalans. I actually saw their report on Tracy Tega's page earlier. When I went back to get a copy of it, it was down in English. But now, so this is what keeps taking me back, right? Because I am hearing all of this, but for some reason, maybe I missed it. For some reason, I am not hearing real accountability for these leaders, these people we call leaders. I'm hearing the likelihood of getting compensation for Budna, but I am really not hearing or no kind of emphasis whatsoever that these people will be held accountable.
yes,
That's
sir,
where I don't have much
nobody
hope.
has yet come forward to say that John Brown told me to do it. We have no information that can connect Mary Jane, John Brown, or Sue Ellen to anything that have happened. You understand what I'm saying? Until we get that nexus, that connection concretely, what are we doing? We are actually doing the same thing they would have done. We would be jumping to a conclusion and circumventing due process to have somebody be made to answer for something we're not sure that they did. Listen to me, understand me. I mean, I know in your heart of hearts and in the hearts of many, we know, but we don't really know for sure, man. We can't. We weren't there.
So indulge me a bit. Indulge me a bit. Make with you at least speculation.
I
I know
can't
you know
speak.
an attorney
I
and
can't.
that will be hard for you.
I can't speculate, man.
Make we indulge me with a little speculation. Where your vibe, where your gut they tell you. Be real. Make we kind of just indulge in some speculation. Where your gut they tell you really and truly happen.
Well, not my gut. Budna said so. Budna said he offended certain people up north, and as a result, he was treated the way he was treated. It's not a gut situation. I mean, but at the end of the day, I cannot come out and say that
I
this is what it
understand.
is
I understand. So
because
let me
there are
ask you
there are
let me ask you
considerations.
directly. Let
Remember,
me
we're a
ask you
country of laws.
directly.
If I defame somebody out here right now, and because remember, defamation is defamation is a cause of action. If
Right.
you don't have the proof, and I can come out on national TV and radio and say Commissioner lied because he did. Everybody saw it.
So but
Everybody saw it.
can you
That's
say
not
I
possible.
if I say right, I believe, let's just say I am saying if I say I believe that this was state sponsored.
That
Can
you could say that. Of course, you can say it.
okay. Do you believe that this was state sponsored?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, the actors of the state.
And
Clearly.
this is what I am saying. So because of what we believe and what so many other people believe, I don't know if there is provisions in the law for say that. At what point that like we'll say, you have the right words, the legal terms, but we need a group of people who are already on standby who can look at things independently. So we could hold these people accountable. So they could pay for their crimes. Honestly, brethren, I get what they say. I understand you're an attorney, you have to think like one, you have to act like one. But at the same time, and again, very well said, that know your gut, that way the evidence, it's right, it's out there. But still, justice is being delayed. Justice, it seems, the way how things go, will likely be denied.
No, man. You see, the
It's
arc of history
just,
is long, they say, but it bends towards justice. It's just a matter of being vigilant,
hmm.
maintaining vigilance. We
And I
have,
wanted to
we have,
ask you,
we
right?
have come a long way in a short time, man. Just be a
Yeah,
vigilant.
yeah. See, but you're telling me this, brethren. But you see, I sure you are you could, you're very informed on this topic. Take for example, redistricting.
Yes.
How long have or has the fight been for redistricting? Dangriga, we have over 6,000 voters. And then you go to Mesopotamia or Pickstop, one of the constituency, we have less than 2,500 voters. You know very well for how long we've been trying to fight for fair election, fair representation, and that still can't happen yet. You talk about what, 15 years or more? So when I say to you, the due process and all these procedures, they've been failing us for so long. And these people, they blatantly disobey the Constitution, violate the Constitution.
So with hold on, you can't have one, and you can't have both. You can only have one. Either due process the failure, or the people are not adhering to the Constitution. Because if they are not adhering to the Constitution, you never got due process. Due process
But
doesn't fail. Due process don't fail anyone. Trust me. Due process is due process. Due process means that whatever the law allows for you to have, procedurally and substantially, you are getting. Whenever you don't get it, then due process has been circumvented. Due process has been circumvented when it comes to redistricting. We understand it because when you look at what the provision in the law says, that the constituencies are to be as equal as possible,
or
and you
near
can
equal.
recognize that there is this huge disparity, but we get rulings based on timeline for elections,
You
based
see?
on listen, based on timeline for elections, based on expenditure for elections, based on all manners of things that have nothing to do with what the Constitution seeks to uphold in ensuring the one man, one vote principle in the democracy. Listen, again, I was a part of the first redistricting case that came to be heard and concluded before the High Court. Myself and Michelle Trapp. Okay? I understand, and I'm still fighting for that. But again, because the people are not sufficiently sensitized, it is left for a handful of people always to be pushing for these ideals. And these ideals are only there for the improvement of the lives of the people and the representation of the people. As you have rightly said, you have in Belize City 10 constituencies. 10,
Mhm.
okay? In an area of land that can fit into the Stan Creek district 10 times.
Malapportioned. Malapportioned.
Now, you have places like Toledo West, Stan Creek West,
Sand Creek West. Over
Belmopan,
10,000.
that are inundated with voters to the point where the singular area rep cannot adequately address the needs of the constituents. But because the power brokers, and I come back to this whole concept, the power brokers in the political parties reside mainly in the city, and for them, it is easier for them to manage a small constituency and maintain their financial liquidity, and it's beneficial to them to have the person in Stann Creek with the pressure of 6,000, because if they don't like him, they can put a challenger to attack him and remove him easier. So they
You
keep
see?
you in a state of flux.
Yeah,
Where
you see, and I want to take this opportunity to mention this to Brother Arthur.
yeah,
And this is what I have a big problem with, right? We're kind of digressing, but it's okay because it's still applicable. You're right. You see there, Bedrin, Karim Musa,
call name,
right?
man. You're not gonna call name.
Well, Finnegan, I call him one, we have the small constituencies.
Well, Caribbean isn't one. Caribbean Shores
Uh,
is a big one.
how much is his?
Caribbean Shores,
Uh-huh.
close to 5,000, if not more.
Okay, well, all right. My bad on that. With all the small constituencies under 2,500, right? That has been kept up for decades. And the reason why we talk about this is simply because we talk about due process, we talk about laws, and I'm giving you an example of how they have violated the Constitution left, right, and center. They have ignored the laws.
But I told you why.
Right, but I want to get back to the point. But even if due process is circumvented, the fact is they're breaking the law. They're breaking the law. If I ask you right now, Jerry Enriquez, how much, which he has requested, he wants a report, the how do you call it? The Freedom of Information Act. We want to know what the government have spent on attorneys to fight against redistricting.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know, Jerry wants to know how much the government has spent to fight against redistricting when redistricting is going to work in the favor of the people. No response so far as I know, as far as my knowledge serves me.
Yeah.
And so I am giving you this as an example of just walking over the law, go through due process, block Jerry from talking, from this are the thing, like
But
it look
that's not,
like that the best attorney win, even if he wrong. Not only the best attorney, but the man we got the most money, kind of that we money they use to fight against something that is beneficial for us. So this
yeah.
is why I say, Brother Arthur, I don't got no kind of hope in this particular situation because nothing new is being put on the table, nothing serious. And anytime they speak, they do this thing where they just move their lips and words come out. It don't mean nothing. There's no integrity. None whatsoever.
Yeah.
I have a question for you as we're getting ready to wrap up. So, when they finish their investigation,
Mm-hmm.
who do they hand that over to? Who do they hand over the report to?
Well, I believe it should be the Minister of Police first, but then I believe the Prime Minister has jumped the queue and he has requested it, so he is the one who they are going to present this to. Ultimately, then we will get to hear what the result of that investigation is and make our determination as to whether it's sufficient for us to accept. But it would first go to the Prime Minister, I imagine.
Brother, there is so much to be said. There is a lot that is yet still unclear.
I will
Um,
say Cyril, is the process has started. They would have hoped that it would have been finished by now. It is not. They have commissioned an investigation. Let's see where it goes. Be vigilant and mindful, alert always, and wait to see what is produced. But in the meantime, we got to keep the fire burning.
We
Let's keep the
have
fire
to.
burning, my brother. That's
We
all we got
have
to do.
to. Our trust you a little bit and just wait. Our
No, man,
I,
we will be actively waiting. We will not be waiting
I,
passively.
well, I hope. Well, I can't say I hope. I'll be doing my part, and
Yes.
I'll be watching for updates. Any last words for my audience, for those watching? If you have couple seconds, I would like to go to the comments. Friends, family, I don't mean to ignore you, but this has been an interesting conversation, a one-on-one with my brother, attorney at law, Arthur Saldivar. Um, Again, I thank you for being here.
Yeah,
And
man.
let me go to the comments. Let me scroll at the top and see if I could. A lot of people might have. We have quite a few comments. I'll just read through these real quick. Antoinette Polonio, but instead they got a treat of interdiction and 45 days off, question mark. So this person is upset that the compul get 45 paid leave. It's paid, right?
I imagine so. I imagine
Paid,
it's
paid leave. All right. Susan. All right. Clean house. Yeah, we need to clean house. Jerry, very bad, very bad song, comrades. Yeah, man, it's bad. Antoinette, once they who are already identified is terminated instead of interdicted, they will call all the others out. All right, I guess. Imagine. We have Lupe Ayuso. Well, I'll get a report until end of October. 13th Amendment will be passed. You really think it will be passed
well on September the 24th. They are going to have a
in
consultation
Dangriga?
in Dangriga. I would hope that Dangriga residents come out in numbers for that consultation to voice their, if they support it, why they support it, and if they oppose it, why they oppose it. I will not say go out and oppose if you believe it's something necessary.
See, but
I would not
real,
I would not support it.
but brother Arthur, the thing is about that. This consultation is on the 24th. The 24th is on a Wednesday, I believe. I just scratch my head and wonder if that day is a working day or we get holiday on that day. Because if the 13th Amendment, if the consultation in regards to the 13th Amendment is so important, why would you have a consultation from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on a working school day?
Ah, it is important, but important to who?
Well,
Important to who?
that's not, no. I can't.
Hold on,
That, like
Cyril.
if you have a household and you're a parent,
Yeah,
what you know is important, that you have to emphasize that or enforce or reinforce that.
but Cyril, you just tell me all this thing just now with this whole conversation you are telling me. I can pick up from you that you don't have much confidence in the leadership. Why you
I
think?
don't.
All
I
right, so
don't.
why do you think they would want to put a consultation for something that they truly want to pass at a time when the maximum amount of people can attend? I mean, really, my brother. I mean, come
All
on, man. I
right
mean,
then. Well, I mean,
please
listen.
understand. Please, please understand, man. The thing is designed that way to keep the numbers down.
Why? I
But I'm
appreciate the
saying,
little bit of humor it's needed.
let the Dangriga people, the people of Dangriga, understand it's important for them to go. When
That's
no
it.
matter what side of the aisle it is they want to come down on, because we'll know we'll have a lot of those. A lot of who is going to go there is going to be those who are sponsored to go to say, yeah, we want 13th Amendment without understanding what
Okay.
it means.
It's important for people to know that. You see? People who don't nepa for their side, who want this thing passed, then that the people were going. So this place will, you know, but I really don't want to waste much time on it. It's just unfortunate. People at Dangriga, the 24th of this month, representatives of the government will be here. Who knows, one or two of the ministers. I know that
Cyril, I
Caribou
gotta go,
San.
Papa.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. We were
Yes,
already closing off. I appreciate your time.
thank
I'll
you.
wrap up right here. You know, folks, people at Dangriga, it is important that we be informed, that we stay informed. As I get ready to close off, I have to thank my brother Arthur Saldivar again for joining me and give some clarity, some insight on this matter. I was reading the comments. Before I go back to the comments, it is very important for us here in Dangriga on the 24th. If you can make it, make it. Go and attend this consultation. Hear what's happening. Because the 13th Amendment, if this is passed, if it's passed, it's going to affect the entire country. It's going to give these people more power than they already have. So step out if you can. Go and ask your questions. Go and express your displeasures. Go and express your rejection for the 13th Amendment. Let me go back to the comment. Jetty, it's not even that. They don't know or care if everybody is fools or are fools. As long as we are all cowards, let me expand this, and don't do anything except cry and fuss when they play us. Man, I'm telling you, man, Susan, it takes money and passion. That is true. Then maybe that should be the 13th Amendment. Colin, it's like what we see in movies. Yeah, they're like one movie, man. Susan, they're not for leadership. They're absolutely not. Let's see. Herman Martinez, you're the song repetitive. All right, thank you, my brother. Susan Budna did a good job journaling his own story to us. Very good. You know what? You're right about that, Susan. He actually did a good job journaling his own story. And it's hard to give the brother credit because of his criminal past, because those who choose to ignore this incompetent government or this alleged state-sponsored crime will not allow any credit for this brother. Lupe Ayusa, Cyril, have you spoken of the prisoners' agreement signed in 20? No, not tonight. I did in my last episode, but I didn't mention it. I didn't talk about it tonight. It's now 10 o'clock, folks. I intended to sign off at 10 o'clock sharp. It's 5 past 10. Thank you all for joining. I command live religiously on Wednesdays. There are days where I just pop up like today. I deemed it necessary to command because of all the updates, because of what we were supposed to receive today, the report by the Prime Minister. So I think it would be a good idea to command and talk about this. I will come back live again, definitely on Wednesday. And maybe tomorrow, if anything surfaces that needs to be addressed or that I deem necessary to share with you guys. I'm starting 2 episodes actually. Sunday is going to be Soul Fuel. That's where we talk everything motivational, inspirational. I'll have my brother, Dr. Charles A. Castillo, join us, and we're going to talk about being resilient on Sunday coming. No politics, no drama, just inspiration. And then Monday, I'll be discussing business ideas, entrepreneurships, iron sharpen iron. All right, I want to help market those of you in Dangriga, start promote your products. If you have something you want to share, any small business owner, any individual who is doing anything positive, uplifting, send me a message, send me some videos, send me some photos, and I'll promote what you have on Mondays. Folks, until we see each other again, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning on. This is Dangriga Unmuted, unmuting the truth, demanding change. I'll see you again on Wednesday, possibly tomorrow if anything pops up. Thanks again. 𝐒𝐻𝐍𝐃
who was beaten and handed over to hostile territory, reportedly by officers of the state, strikes at the very heart of our democracy and our sovereignty. To clarify, this is not a defense of Mr. Budna's past. His criminal history is well documented. To remove any doubt, Joseph Budna was convicted in Guatemala for kidnapping and extortion and sentenced to 25 years in prison. He has faced multiple charges in Belize, including abetment to commit murder. Joseph Budna, unquestionably, is a controversial figure. But this is the thing. He is a Belizean citizen entitled to due process and constitutional protections. The video recorded abduction of Mr. Budna is nothing short of alarming. This incident represents one of the gravest threats to the fundamental rights and freedoms of every Belizean citizen. It has been 2 weeks, and the Prime Minister of this country, the head, to demand a report from the Minister of Police and the Police High Command. I gave him some grace as the Prime Minister, and I called him to find out how the government had intended to deal with these allegations. According to the Prime Minister, the matter of the abduction of a Belizean citizen was not discussed in cabinet.
The Make of the allegations that the police department, members of the police department, was involved in the abduction of Joseph Budna?
Well, that allegation has been done from the very start. Whatever I said from earlier that I'm waiting for the police report. This morning I called Minister Musa, who is responsible as the Minister of Home Affairs, and I told him that I want that report today or by tomorrow at the very latest. Once I get that report, I will see what is it that they present, and then they will have to decide what is the next step, whether we need to have an independent investigation or what it is. But please allow me to get that before I can be able to comment further.
Would you understand that cabinet discussed this matter yesterday? Tuesday, wouldn't you have gotten a brief then?
I don't know where you get that information, because the cabinet that I managed we had no discussions about Budna on Tuesday. So somebody give you wrong information.
Have you seen the video that was leaked showing that all signs police were involved?
I have not had a chance to see the video. I've been here busy since yesterday. But again, let me repeat. I will get the report. I have told the minister I want that report today or tomorrow at the very latest. Once I get that report, then we could take the next step forward. And I'm telling you right now, if there's a need to name an independent investigation, I will do it. My government will do it. I repeat once again, this was not sanctioned by the government of Belize. We have absolutely nothing to do with that.
So far, allegations that Budna has made have checked out. If it turns out that the police is involved, he called Karim, which we assume is Minister Musa, and he also called the Compol. Would head rolls then?
Well, I think we're jumping ahead of ourselves. Allow me to get the report, and once we get the report, then we will take it a step there. I will tell you that if there's a need to have an investigation, an independent investigation, we are going to have it.
What about releasing the video to the public for transparency?
Which video? I haven't seen any video.
Footage from the areas or the police station.
Again, the report from the police will be able to throw light to all of that.
We are formally requesting the release of all those surveillance footages.
How can you do that if they're doing an investigation?
For transparency.
But hold on, relax. We need to get that report. Okay? Can we ask another question if we have any?
What do you make of the allegations that the police department, members of the police department, was involved in the abduction of Joseph Budna?
Well, that allegation has been done from the very start. Whatever I said from earlier that I'm waiting for the police report. This morning I called Minister Musa, who is responsible as the Minister of Home Affairs, and I told him that I want that report today or by tomorrow at the very latest. Once I get that report, I will see what is it that they present, and then they will have to decide what is the next step, whether we need to have an independent investigation or what it is.
Anthony Richard Rosado,
do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare
do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Belize
that will bear true faith and allegiance to Belize
and will uphold the Belize Constitution and the law,
and will uphold the Belize Constitution and the law,
and that I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my ability, discharge my duties as Commissioner of Police, and do right to all manner of people, without fear or favor, affection or ill will.
I, Anthony.
And very painful. My head, my ribs, my feet, my hands, my back, my belly, even my face. I was beaten badly by members of the Belize Police Department personnel. As you all know, I was kidnapped by these persons who are members of the Belize Police Department, who acted upon instruction from their higher boss, such as the Compol of the Belize Police Department, as I heard one of the men in the vehicle said, "Compol, we have the man." I was knocked out, not before shouting to get the attention of people who might be passing the area, who captured a little bit of the momentum. The police stepped out, and when the police officer stepped out, the police officer said they are police officers and they are acting upon a commission. And the police leave them. They doctored me and put me inside sky blue SUV Equinox Chevy, heavily tinted, and drove off with me